God, he is this powerful, almighty being, but he also is this intimate being who wants relationship with us and wants to walk with us. And it's so rare, because where else do you have your ultimate authority who is also like your best friend? You know, those are usually separate. It's those who have power over us versus those whom we are intimate with and in love with. And yet somehow in Scripture, God is both, and he's calling me as a dad. I'm going, God, I want to be both. I have to be strong, and I have to lead my family well. And yet at the same time, I want to show her that I love her and I desire and I want to be with her.
You know, last night when I came back from the meeting, I was reading a joke I was just reading to my wife, and it was quite a hilarious one, actually. It's this young boy, a note for his father, left on the bed. Dear Dad, I know I'm only 15, but I think I can take care of my life. I want you to know I have left this whole family to get to live with Joan. I know you don't like all the tattoos and all the markings on her, and you don't like that she's into drugs. And I know you think she makes me swear da-da-da-da-da-da, but she's really a wonderful girl, and I've fallen in love with her. And so, Dad, this is goodbye. P.S. Dad, this is only a joke. This is only to remind you there are a lot of worse things than my report card, which is in my drawer right now. So I read that and I said to my wife, I know what my dad would have done if I had written a letter like that and left a report card like that.
Hope is a powerful thing. Hope is joyful expectation about the future. Hope means where I'm going is going to be better than where I've been, that my tomorrows are going to be better than my yesterdays. You can go a long way with hope. You know, I got a lot of hope here at Garrison Junior High School, because even though my grades were saying one thing, I had people who believed in me. And the greatest influence in my life was my own father.
Lauren's skill set is different than my skill set. We operate differently. And I came home, we were scheduled to have dinner with people, and I came home and Lauren was super stressed, and she was stressed because we couldn't find a babysitter, and so I'm immediately perturbed because we knew we were doing this, and why are we now trying to find a babysitter? This has been on the cat, so this is kind of it's kind of was elevating, and I said to Lauren that your stress is offensive to me. And what I was trying to say is, you've created this stress. This isn't, you literally created your own stress, and now you're stressing out the whole friggin' family because you just simply didn't make, and so I remember that did not end well for me. And so I've got that one. I've also got several other things that I have said before. You want me to keep going?
It's never too early to introduce your kids to your favorite sports team.
We live in Dallas, so a lot of the kids on the playground are Cowboy fans. We're going to try to keep her Cowboy free as long as possible.
I had her yelling Lakers when she was still in the womb.
It's an exciting time for our family because our daughter Rachel is about to have a baby like any day. And having a child is like one of the most exciting times, but it's also terrifying because becoming a parent is one of the most sacred things you can do on this earth. Because the moment that child is conceived, you have power over another human being. Like we all know that a parent can destroy a child's life, and yet a parent can bring such blessing into the life of a child. And I remember when Rachel was born, someone warned me. They said, look, you need to be careful, because her view of God will be largely shaped by her view of you and your relationship with her. If you are weak, she's going to view God as weak. If you are distant and unforgiving and unloving, that's the way she'll view God. Your actions impact her. And I remember hearing that and thinking, gosh, this is a huge responsibility. I love this girl so much, and I want her to know you and know you accurately.
You know, when my son Josiah was he was probably about 10 years old. He was trying to argue about why he needed to have a certain video game. And I was telling him that I thought that video game was age inappropriate. And he was kind of trying to argue the angles, that he would fast forward, he would close his ears, wouldn't listen to some of it, he'd close his eyes. I mean, he was arguing every angle he could. And finally I said, son, you're not getting it. So he crossed his arms in the back. We were in the car. And he said, when I have a kid, I'm going to let him buy whatever video game he wants to buy. And I said, and when you have a kid and I'm a grandfather, oh, I'm going to take your kid when they stay over at my house. I'm going to let them eat every candy they want to eat. I'm going to let them have as much candy they want to have. I'm going to let them drink gallons of pop at night. And then I'm going to send them home with you so they're wired up all night. Just wait.
I remember when I was in high school, I was into heavy metal music.
Some of the parents may not know what that is. Let me just illustrate. I know you parents haven't heard heavy metal music, but that's, just so you know, that's a little bit.
He would call it my angry white boy music. So I was going through that phase in life. I remember that I wanted to go to this concert. I wanted to go to this heavy metal concert of several different bands that I really, really liked. I really enjoyed these bands. And so I asked my dad, I said, hey, this concert in the city, would you take me to the concert? Would you go to this concert with me? He says, yeah, sure, I'd love to. He listens to Andrea Bocelli, like, that's like opera music. It's not his thing. He's not into heavy metal screaming music. So we show up at this venue, I think it was House of Blues, and we show up at this venue and we go there, and if you've ever been to a heavy metal concert, you don't sit down and like enjoy the music and like, wow, that was really nice. Everyone's standing in a crowd, and people are constantly crowd surfing and diving into the crowd. And then a little bit towards the back of the whole crowd, there's a mosh pit going on. And if you know what a mosh pit is, it's basically a bunch of young people kicking and throwing, arms around. It's really kind of like a form of fighting, but it's dancing, supposedly. And so these mosh pits happen at the end of crowds. And they're really crazy, and a lot of people get hurt. So we were up in the balcony, and we were looking down and watching the concert. It was a great concert and enjoying the venue. And my dad taps me on the shoulder, and he says, hey, I'll be back in a minute. I go, okay, going to the bathroom or something, okay. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching the band, I'm looking down at the crowd, seeing who's gonna get hurt and what is going on down here. And then I start to see, as I'm looking down, I start to see this bald head just slowly go through the crowd. I go, that kind of looks shiny and familiar. So, as I see this head start going towards the crowd, and it's in the crowd, and I can see it pushing through and making his way through the crowd, I can see that he's on direct course to run into the mosh pit. And so I'm watching as he's moving to the mosh pit, and right when he gets to the outside line of this circle, which is the mosh pit, and it's crowd, and then it's a little bit more open so people can like throw their arms and kick, and it's like, okay. Right when he got to the outside of the mosh pit, he turns around and goes, like, he's going, get ready, I'm about to go in. I'm like, no, don't, please, don't go in there. These are all like 20-something-year-olds, don't, please. So he goes like this, and then I just see him back up, and then he runs in and jumps, and he is just bouncing around. These guys are all pushing people. You can see him pushing guys who are pushing him back, and he's like never done this before in his life. Just like, okay, let me try to get in the mosh pit with these other young people. He comes back up, the concert finishes, we walk outside and we're walking to the car. Pastor Mark?